I can say with assurance that we can perhaps one day achieve and do what the great filmmakers of Hollywood have done. But I think they cannot do what Shankar sir can do. I think that domain should be exclusively kept for Sanjay Leela Bhansali. I think he presents them in the most beautiful manner. I'm almost fearful that I won't live up to that huge standard that they have both raised with the films they've done with Sanjay Leela Bhansali. I never got to see Kuch Kuch Hota Hai in a cinema hall. I never got to enjoy it with an audience. I never saw it ever with anyone. I used to have friends who would call me कि सलमान के entry में लोग तालियां मार रहे हैं, सीटी बजा रहे हैं. I would over the phone, I was in a PCO in London, putting in one-pound coins and calling, and they would put their mobile phones to make me hear the crowd noise.
Many of the fans, I've taken a few fan questions today, and they have this, that when are we going to see Salman Khan back in Dharma Productions, because you guys started off together.
I mean, I will always be grateful. I will always be immensely grateful to Salman Khan for having worked with me on my first film, on a role that really honestly he didn't need to do, because at that time it was more my need than his. He did it because he loved my dad, and he, I think, liked my enthusiasm in my narration of the film. And I will always be eternally grateful to Salman Khan for having done Kuch Kuch Hota Hai and adding so much star power to that role. After that, somehow we've never had the opportunity, but I can't wait for the day that Salman and me come together, and I hope, because I'm really excited to work with him, and I hope that one day he greenlights something that I come to him with.
If you wake up one day and realize you have turned into Anurag Kashyap, what would you do?
Kill myself.
So any actor that comes to your mind that you like to really work with and you still haven't worked with?
I would love to work with Sridevi. I would love to direct her. I would love to direct Amir Khan. I would love to direct him. These are the two. I would love to direct Ranveer Singh. I would love to direct Deepika Padukone.
So many people are saying that maybe if you can come up with something with Ranveer and Deepika.
I think that domain should be exclusively kept for Sanjay Leela Bhansali. I think he presents them in the most beautiful manner. I'm almost fearful that I won't live up to that huge standard that they have both raised with the films they've done with Sanjay Leela Bhansali. I can say with assurance that we can perhaps one day achieve and do what the great filmmakers of Hollywood have done. But I think they cannot do what Shankar sir can do. Because there is a certain emotional bandwidth that Shankar sir brings in his narrative that none of their films will have. There is a certain pagalpan, the madness, insanity.
That's important.
I think we are, and all great filmmakers are also creative geniuses and are also crazy. And I think Shankar sir is a crazy child that is exploding on screen, and no filmmaker in the world can take credit for that.
Apparently you don't like...
No, I don't like. I don't like
horror films.
Horror films at all.
He's whining.
I don't watch any of these movies, and I've said that in all my communications just now. I didn't enjoy the process at all. It was not very difficult for me.
We were not like a family.
Yeah, I mean, I did my best, but it was tough for me, Faridoon. I was very challenged because it's not immediately my space. But every day used to be like a day of tentativeness, which I'm not used to at any point of time, So because I'm used to being a little bit more in control of my material or my craft. In this particular case, I was at sea, so I had to constantly second guess myself, which I don't like or enjoy. So I've done what I've had to, but I don't want to do it again.
That's interesting.
We tend to sometimes slant towards filmmakers and movie stars, but actually the core team, the writers, the technical team, they really enhance the film and the product. They are the heart and soul of the film. Giving them the due respect and time and share of the limelight is not only something that is the order of the day, but it is important even to further cinema, to enhance the possibilities of cinema. To empower writers to start with, which is the heart and soul of your narrative, to empower editors and cinematographers, choreographers, sound engineers, music, everything. And the southern industry always had the best technical teams that come out of that. In fact, the finest cinematographers, the finest editors, the finest sound engineers, and the finest in any technical field have all come from the southern part of our country. I never got to see Kuch Kuch Hota Hai in a cinema hall. I never got to enjoy it with an audience. I never saw it ever with anyone. I used to have friends who would call me कि सलमान के entry में लोग तालियां मार रहे हैं, सीटी बजा रहे हैं. I would over the phone, I was in a PCO in London, putting in one-pound coins and calling, and they would put their mobile phones to make me hear the crowd noise, because that was the only way I could feel close to the impact of that film. And I feel like that's the one thing I will always regret, that I never saw my first feature film with an audience in any part of this country.
Right.
It was really quite sad.
If you were a product, what would be your best punchline?
Take me, I'm worth it.
Take me, worth it.
Shah Rukh used to always like say that, you know, that we should do that one solid film that, you know, we'll always be remembered for. And I hope there are many more to come. But I know that My Name is Khan will be that one film that, you know, both of us can be really proud of.
If you have to write a book on the foreign stars, what would the title be? SRK.
The king and him.
Salman.
The man himself.
RGB.
I hated, I was hated.
The Khan of all seasons.
Shah Rukh Khan.
Pariniti and Alia sang Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, and you were there on stage. Was it an emotional moment for you?
I mean, they sprung a surprise on me because they told me we're going to do something, but we won't tell you what. So when they did it, I was like, oh shit, they sang Tum Paas Aaye. Yeah, it was, I mean, these kids, you know, Alia was probably 2 or 3 when Kuch Kuch Hota Hai released. And she's played on with my father like a child. My father has held her in her arms. So it's kind of strange that I've launched her many years later. I've seen Alia as a kid, literally as a naughty, scraggy haired, naughty little kid, like my father gave chocolate to every time he saw her. And to think that I would launch that girl 10, 12 years later is really ironic and beautifully ironic. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it is emotional for me when these kids connect to my cinema and actually resonate it on stage. It's a beautiful feeling.